Welcome to the studio tonight, ladies and gentlemen, and tonight we are going to paint this cute little house. This is actually a very old historical building. This is the San Luis Lighthouse in, not San Luis Obispo, in Avila Beach, California. For years and years and years, this was, I believe, as the story's told, the only lighthouse between San Francisco and Santa Barbara, California. It sits out on a pier. You can see the ocean out here. I have had this picture sitting around the studio for a long time. I actually was there and did a drawing of it. I've got it in my notebook here. Here it is. It's a little small. I've done it with all a micron pen. This is what I came up with. But I happened to be out here one day, had some watercolor materials with me, didn't have enough time to do my painting, but did my drawing while I was out there. Took a few quick pictures, and like I said, I've had this kicking around the studio for a while now, and I thought now is as good a time as any to get this out and let's give it a little painting. So let me set this out here so we can see it. And this is a little small. We're gonna have to work with this a little bit, but we'll go with it. I'm gonna use my paints here. These are my M-grams in just a little travel tin. Let me set these off to the side. I don't know, right about there. I'm gonna set my color chart just up to the top so I can see it. And today I'm gonna be using my Winsor & Newton Cotman brushes. These are the ones I bought in just in a little pack. I don't know what they were, 20, 25 bucks, something like that. They're nice little brushes for what you get. They're not big brushes, as I say, but they're quite nice. I'm going to start with, oh, looks like I've got a little hair in there. Like a little cat hair or something. Okay, I'm going to start with a little flat brush. I'm going to pull this down just a little bit, or push my water up. There we go. Trying to get everything on screen. Maybe I'm going to have to push that off just a little bit. I'm going to start by doing my sky, and I'm going to use, I think a cerulean blue. Here we go. Just going to use straight cerulean here. I'm just going to dab that on. There we go. And I'm going to try to keep it a little bit darker at the top and just let it thin down a little bit as we get down towards the horizon line. If you look out at the horizon, if you're looking out when you're walking around or outside, or anytime you're outside, you just take a look at the horizon. The horizon always seems like it's a little paler, a little lighter, a little less color than the sky right above you, and I'm told that's because for some strange reason, even though the sky you would think seems the same distance away from you, that it actually is a little bit further away, and the color pales out a little bit as it gets to you. I don't know if that's exactly right, but I'd say it sounds like a fairly reasonable explanation, but and we're going to go with it for tonight anyways, until I can either confirm or deny that. Anyways, I'm just using this flat brush. It's nice. You've heard me talk about this before. It's nice. You can get some nice straight lines pretty easily. You don't have to worry too much about it. Whereas if you with a round brush, you'd have to go kind of on the side and see if you can get it around just right. But the flat brush is really easy to work in there, and you can just get into some pretty tight little areas with it. There we go. Let me get some water down here. Zoom it right on down to our horizon line. And I can just pull that straight across, straight on a line. And this flat brush is working for me. I just pull a line straight out. There we go. I'm not trying to get this to be a nice and flat sky. Obviously the day I was here, if you can see in the picture, it's pretty hazy. You almost can't see the horizon line out there. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to make my picture a little bit more vibrant than that. And I think that's what I'm going to do with my skyline right there. And I'm going to call it good with that. I'm going to go down to a little bit smaller round brush here. And I'm going to mix up a couple of paints. I'm going to start with a quinacridone red. Here we go. Just mixing up some. And I'm going to end up using this for my roof color here. I'm going to start with a nice red, and I'm going to mix a bunch of it up. There we go. That looks pretty good. And, well, I'm going to mix in a little bit of this yellow ochre and see how that looks. It looks okay to me. It's a bit bright for this, so I'm just going to dab in a little bit of my burnt umber just to tone that down a little bit. And that to me is not too bad a color. Now I should come back, because I just said that flat, you know what, I'll do it. I said that flat gives you nice straight lines. I've got a roof line here which is real straight. I'm going to come back and I'm going to use this flat brush, and I'll bet I can get right in there, really pretty close to the top of the roof. Looks like I just touched in that one spot. See if I can not touch it anywhere else. I'm going to get just a tiny bit of paper. I don't really want that to bleed out quite like that. We'll dab that up. And now I think if I get my brush just a little bit damp, I can kind of play with this. I can get just a little bit of this blue color back on. If I get it just the right consistency, I might be able to fudge that in just a little bit. There you go. I bet you'll never even be able to notice what I did there. And I'm hoping you can see what I did there. Let me zoom in just that little bit more. There we go. That's probably good. Now I'm going to try to stay just away from that edge. Come down and just paint in that roof. Something like that. See, I told you this gives you some nice straight edges without having to do any work. I'm going to pull this one across this way. And if you're worried about laying your brush down and pulling across this way, you can always flip your brush around. Ta-da! And pull it back that way. Just as good. There we go. There's a little bit of that roof. I think we'll come back and touch that up just a little bit with maybe a little bit of color later on. I know that this roof up here is red also, so I'm going to drop just a bit of color in there. Actually, that roof is more dark. Let's see. Oh, I got a whole roof right here. Well, I've got this brush in my hand. Let's put that on. How does this roof go? There we go. It's been a while since I've seen this drawing. I'll have to refer back to a painting a little bit more than I normally would. I shouldn't say that. I get carried away focused on what I'm doing here, and sometimes maybe not paying attention here. I don't try to duplicate this per se, but I do want to use that as a reference. Okay, so now we have to mix up some color here, and I'm going to use a little bit of Payne's Gray for that, as I know it's a pretty muted color. And oh, what should we do? Go back to our... Oh, that's way too much. Wow, wow, wow. Let's going to say go back to our yellow ochre again. Something really light. That's a better amount of that. And a little bit of Payne's gray. Well, that doesn't look too bad. Maybe just a little bit more of that ochre in there. That's pretty good. I like that. The whole house really is pretty muted. The colors aren't really bright. I think they tried to repaint this with some of the original colors, and I think probably the colors that they used back in the day just weren't the brightest colors in the world. So they probably used whatever colors they had on hand as they're building, this, and this is just one of several buildings on this site. I think they're probably all painted that color. Looks like I should have done a little bit more. Let's grab some of that yellow ochre just like that, and a little bit of Payne's gray. See if we can't get something similar. That's close. I'll warm that up a little bit more. There we go. I think that's good. And just a touch of water in there. There we go. That looks representative of a color of a house that's been sitting out in the weather for about 100 years or so. There we go, and I'm going to let that get a little bit light down here. I'm not going to bring that down super heavy. I'm going to mix a little bit of water in here because you won't really notice that it's a little lighter down here. But I want the plants that I'm going to paint down here to go just over some of that color, and I think that there we go. I think that if I lighten it up just a little bit at the bottom, your eye won't notice too much about it, but it'll be a lot easier to paint over. There we go. I'm looking at this color, and I'm looking up here at our picture, and I just noticed, man, that's a lot of gray trim on here. And I may have made my house paint a little too gray to start with. I should have warmed it up a little bit more. Could do a little bit of warming right now. There we go. We don't need to paint the whole house the same color anyways. Your eye is going to look at it and go, oh, the house has been painted, and you're not necessarily going to think, wait a minute, that color changes in there. And even if you did think that, your eye's going to tell you, whoa, it's right. Somehow, it's right. There we go. What else do I have to paint? Okay, so not a lot. I'm going to make a gray here. I'm going to mix in a little bit of blue. I'm going to use, where is my ultramarine? I'm going to mix in a little bit of my ultramarine blue. Oh, that's what I got. Third one over. If you're watching there we go. And a little bit more Payne's gray. And I think that's the color I'm going to use. Well, it's a little warmer than that. Let me just drop in just a touch of quinacridone rose. Well, that's good. That warms it right up. Oh, and we can go ahead and paint some of our trim pieces. Like I said, this is going to be a quick little painting. This is just a fun one I've had sitting around. I never meant when I drew this for this to hang in a studio or anything like that. This was just always going to be a fun little painting to do. I intended to do it while I was there, but just kind of ran out of time, which is fine. A little disappointing, but it's fine. It gives me time. Gives me time to reflect on it and come back and think about the time I had there while I'm painting it. It's not quite the same as painting it while I'm there, but it's fun nonetheless, and the memories are good, so I think that's a good thing. There we go. I'm just painting this trim. I know somebody's going to say this to me, that I'm painting this completely out of order. I shouldn't be painting it this way. I should be painting, the grass is over here or the fence first or something, and you're probably exactly right. But sometimes when you get a painting, you just kind of got to paint what you feel, when you feel. Some of doing all this painting is not necessarily about doing it technically correct all the time. A lot of it is about doing something that you enjoy and having fun with it. If we can make something that looks nice in the process, well, that's a win-win. So I think I'm enjoying this. Is what I like to do. I'm totally enjoying this. And what's more, I'm enjoying the memories that are coming back to me as I'm painting this. And I'm also enjoying the fact that you guys are here with me, painting with me, and hopefully you're enjoying it too. Hey, we're going to just drop a little bit of this on. Oh, I forgot the door. That little bit. Oh, I wonder if I mixed up enough color. I don't know if I did, but I know that I forgot to paint a little bit of this house paint in a couple of spots, which I suppose is not that big of a deal. We'll get to that. We'll finish everything up. All right, I'm going to make a little brick-ish color here. I'm going to use some of my maroon and a little bit of burnt umber. I'm going to put that on my chimneys. Oh, I know you guys didn't see that. I just put my hand on the paper here and it just warped a little bit and caused me to paint where I didn't want to paint. I've got that on quite a bit thicker than I want. Okay, I don't like that, I should tell you, but we're going to fix it in just a second. The color to me is too close to that roof color. It's not making me real happy. If I look on my picture, that's pretty dark and the roof is pretty light in comparison. These are a little different. We're going to come back and change that, fix that in a little bit. What do we need to do here? You know what we need to do? What I need to do? If I was paying attention, I would have done this to begin with. You can't have a lighthouse that you can't see through the windows. Look at this. These are the curtains up here. I'm just going to put in a little bit of blue here. Slightly different color. Let that pull down like that. And I'm going to mix up, and you're not going to be able to see this. Let me pull everything down real quick. I'm going to mix up here a little Payne's gray and Antho blue here. I want a nice dark color. There we go. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put a little bit of this burnt umber in there too. Come on, it's not quite the color I want. That's not bad. All right, and I'm going to come up. I'm going to drop down one more size on my paintbrush here. What am I at? This is a number 1. I'm going to grab that, and I'm going to paint underside of these eaves here. And that ball on top. There we go. And I am going to mix up a little other paint, little Payne's Gray, and a little ultramarine. A nice dark mixture. And I'm going to use this in my windows. You know what? I was going to use this flat brush. I was going to prove that this flat brush is worth its weight, but I think the width of that is bigger than I want. So I'm going to drop down. What am I don't know. This is a 4. I'm going to put some colors in my windows. I don't have any real shadows in the windows panes here. It was a pretty overcast day, and I don't have reflections in there. I can't see through them, so I don't mind just giving them a flat wash. It's just a window that's kind of blocked up in there. I don't want to make it darker than everything else. I'm hoping this is going to dry a little bit lighter. The Payne's Gray usually will help with that. But some nice dark windows in there. There we go. I'll leave a little bit of white in some of these. Let's see, is that a window pane? Is that a window pane? No, no, no. That one is not. Okay, something like that. And what do we have? We've got some wood here. Let's go with some, I'm just going to do a little burnt umber here and a little bit of, man, come on, that's way too much. What's going on with this today? There'll be a little bit of yellow ochre. Just a nice neutral wood color. Going to paint the staircase. Some lines here. And the stairs going across. Let me get this back in the center so you can see. And you know what? I'm going to use a little bit of, I'm going to change this color up a little bit. There we go. That's the house color. I'm going to get a little bit of just pure ultramarine in there. Hopefully that adds a little bit of interest in there. What I want is for this to come out a little bit more, a little dried up. I want to do it crossways. There we go. That looks better to me. I like that a lot better. All right, so now the part that I guess one of the parts I've been neglecting. I've got to get this field on here. I'm going to give it a little bit more green than is there. I'm going to come over. I'm going to go right into, you know what, I was going to go into that house color paint, but I'm not going to. I'm going to mix up a little olive green here with a little bit of my umber. And I'm not going to mix it all that much. And I'm going to start with a fairly loose mixture of it. Maybe a little looser than that. There we go. Just let that go right on out. That's better. I'm going to really loosen that up. And then we'll get a little bit more as we come to the foreground. And I'm just going to mix in this green and this umber color in here. I'm just going to use the edge, the corner of this, to get it in between the stiles on this fence. I'm hoping you can see. Alright, that's too big. Let me drop to another brush. there and there. Let's get a little bit more of that green in there. And a little bit of brown. Might be a little too much. I just come back and dab it. I'm just squaring off those little, the area in between the slats. It's not going to be perfect. But you're going to get the idea that there's a fence there or that there's something there. Anyway, the viewer's going to look at it. I've got it drawn in... I'm concentrating. It's hard to talk and concentrate at the same time. I've got it drawn in pen, so the viewer's going to be able to see that anyway. So I'm not too worried about it. So let me make a little bit stronger mix here, and I'm going to come in front of the fence just like that. You know what, there's not that much green in this picture. I'm going to mix some of that brown back in. Actually, that's not too bad. I like the way that's starting to look. And over here, over on this side, I shouldn't have done what I did there. I'm going to do this again, this really light color, back up to the horizon. So you know what I just did? So we've got a, all right, well, stuff happens. We have a lighthouse sitting in a field. That's great. Oh, all right. Well, we'll work with it. It's fine. It's fine. It's funny. But it's fine. If I hadn't mentioned it, I wonder how many people would have picked that up and said anything about that. There we go, nice and strong in the foreground. We want a lot of color here in the foreground to really bring that forward. We want that to be a lot richer, a lot fuller than the house. Okay, I'm going to come back and I'm going to add some detail onto the roof here. I'm going to mix up a little something. I don't want to add like a super amount of detail to the roof here. So what I'm going to do, actually, you know what? This would be another great application for the old straight brush, flat brush. I'm just going to add a few lines here and there. Hope that's not too much detail on there. And I'm going to come up here with my brick color, which I believe was just maroon and burnt umber. And I'm going to add a little shadow to one side of my fireplaces. There we go. That's going to add a little bit of depth, and I'm going to do the same thing on top of this cupola, whatever upala it is. I've got a bit of a red foundation here. Just going to knock that in. What else do we need to do? I know I've forgotten a little bit. Oh, yes. A little bit of the house color above that window and in the doors. Here, here. Something like that. And if we wanted to, we could add a few extra details. Oh, actually, we have to add a couple extra details. Look at this. I've got a railing up here. It needs a little bit of work on it. There we go. Hey, I'm happy with that. And I've got a little bit of some bushes or something right back here. Just put a little bush back there. And I've got one over here that I could put in. And there we go. I think that's it. That's about all I'm going to do for this one. Like I said, it's not a classical masterpiece. This was supposed to be an on-location sketch where I ran out of time. Here's my original picture. Here's what I came up with. I'm totally happy with it. What I'm happiest about are the memories that came back as I'm painting this. I hope you had a good time with me painting. I had a great time with you. We'll see you back here in the studio next time. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.